Hi everyone, it's Jerry. Let's have a look at a game that was played at the Karlsbad Tournament in 1929. On the white end, the great Capablanca, and he's paired against Karel Treybal. This is an instructive game. We have a few topics that surface from this one: good and bad bishops, space, and pawn tension, and knowing when it is, let's say, an optimal time to release the tension. So let's dive in and see how this one plays out. The chess machine opening with d4. Opening wise, Slav defense, queen's gambit declined. Bishop e7. This is where the topic of good and bad bishops comes up. Black with this last move is apparently welcome to exchanging his good bishop for white's bad bishop. What results now is a bad bishop for black, a piece that will not make a positive contribution in this game. It's currently stuck behind black structure, and it will remain like this. From here, knight d2, a committal decision by black, playing f5. There's a grip over e4, but the big downside is e5. That's a dark square, it's a hole. We know what piece won't be able to help fight for that weakened square. This isn't something to do, making this earlier decision, exchanging black's early decision to exchange good bishop for bad bishop, and then to create a hole on a dark square. White already at this point, if I see f5 in this position, here's one of the things I think. I think I would really like to have a position where I just have a knight and you just have a bishop. I have my knight on e5 and it dominates the board. Black, because of this decision to exchange dark square bishops, must now be delicate with ensuing minor piece exchanges. Otherwise, white's going to end up in a dream scenario. From here, some natural looking moves. Knight h6, not so natural. I figured you just dive right into e4, but the idea behind this move is to keep f6 open for the queen knight, and this king knight will help fight for the weakened e5 square. Both sides castle, queen c2, g6. You'll notice this tension. Neither side does well to initiate the exchange. White on move in this position played rook b1. A capture on this square only helps black. Black would recapture with the e pawn, opening up the queen's eyes some along the e file and giving a new square to a bad piece. Black on move, making this capture no good. One of the main ideas, if not, the main idea, to control e4, to control this pawn break, well, black would be inconsistent with this capture. White could play e4 at some stage or just focus, play within the structure, and the white pieces are ideally placed, eyeing up the weakest square in black's camp. Neither side does well to initiate the exchange. Rook b1 in the game. Prep work for queenside play. As soon as e5 is not under control, white hops in. It's challenged, it's a strong piece. It's now supported with the f-pawn. This guy now helps contribute to some central control. So getting some more moves in here. Play with b4, rook c1, maybe queen h4 at some stage. Knight takes knight, knight takes knight. And after knight d7, pop quiz. White to move. What move would you play in this position? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, nothing flashy. This isn't a haymaker type game. The best move, knight f3. Avoiding a piece exchange. White at this stage still has that dream of having a strong knight versus a bad bishop. White is also anticipating that he will have some space. And when you have some space, you like to keep some more pieces on. When does this space come about? Let's see. Right now, c5. Establishing a pawn in black's house. Taking away some key squares. b6 and d6 are under control, but of the two, the one that sticks out to me most is d6. there are two paths for the black knight into the weakest square in white's camp, e4. One is by way of d6, and the other is f6. Black is now down to just one path into e4. From here, knight f6, a4, preparing b5, knight g4, queen e1, knight h6. Another pop quiz. What move would you play as white in this position? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, you ready? Not b5. h3 is considered a best move. No rush with b5. This would help out the rook. White would have to, worry about let's say a rook a3 move after the a file is opened up, striking at the bishop, doubling. It's important to recognize white is the side who controls when this position opens up. It happens on white's terms. White is looking to play on both wings. White, with more space, will have an easier time maneuvering to the king side, to the queen side, maybe back to the king side. Black is working with not so much space. h3, g4 in the game, bishop d7, rook c2. I really like this move. This is highlighting a space advantage for white. Rook b2, or, as played in the game, rook g2. Maybe the g file opens up at some stage. Rook g8, nope, g5. Acquiring some more space. With this last move, guess what piece is dead? The knight on f7. I'll often talk about these key 16 squares. White has 2 of them, 3 of them, that the knight can make use of, and it would be a good piece. What about the black knight? No. f6 is taken away. d6 is taken away. You're never getting into e4. This is a big problem for black. From here, queen d8, h4, h5. Tension, when is it released? Let's see, rook h8 right now? Absolutely not. Some more prep work. Rook h2. Some repositioning now. White is looking to double on the king side. Not much that black can do. Black has to wait. Try and anticipate. Try and prepare for when the position does open up, if it opens up at all. Rook g8. Queen is staying opposite the king. There isn't a great tactic here. There are these thoughts of maybe a capture, and if black takes with the d pawn, you push with the discovered check and acquire a connected passed pawn. It's not quite working. There's some issues on f4. Black could also take with the f pawn. Where does the queen end up? Sneaky move, queen a3. Rook back to g8 in this game. Just a lot of shuffling for black. Not much to do. And in this position, finally, we have the b5 move, playing on the other side of the board. After this capture, of course, we recapture, right? Not quite. White now shuts down the king side, forces the king on a square where the rooks are now stuck. The attention is now going to turn towards the queen side, and guess who's faster to get there? The side who has more space, more freedom of movement. After a takes b, there is no recapture, not that black would be able to hang on to that pawn for long. But notice this key position by the white queen. Opposite the king, if there is a capture, there'd be a push. Discovered check, there goes your bishop. So in the game, king e7, black has to free the rook somehow. b6, acquiring some more space. Space, invader pawns. 4 pawns in black's house. Let's just pause for a moment. There are 2 numbers that stick out to me in this position. 26 and 10. What do they refer to? The number of squares white can pivot about on white side of the board versus the number of squares black can pivot about on black side of the board in this current position. These are the squares. White is playing with a serious space advantage. The bishop for black, the knight for black, no good. And white controls the only open file. Cannot be challenged. Queen a8, you just duck, and the queen has to just go somewhere on the first rank. Black is playing on 2 ranks. The 8th rank and only 3 squares on the 7th rank. So some repositioning here. Play on the A file at this stage. This knight cannot budge. He'll jump in as soon as the knight moves. Where is the knight going to move? In the corner? Yeah, it's really bad for black. So let's see how white organizes the pieces. And once we are right here, a little bit of shuffling by white eventually comes up with the plan. What is this plan? Move 52, white to move. What would you do in this position? Not just what is your next move, what's your plan? How do you put further pressure on black's position? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, here we go. The final idea is to reposition the knight. Where is it going? It's applying pressure to b7. Knight is there to defend, but at the same time, you'll notice something. The bishop is unprotected, which allows the next move, bishop a6. This point is collapsing. The structure is collapsing. It's going to now open up, and black is helpless. Pawn takes bishop. Rook takes bishop. And after rook e7, one more pop quiz. What does Capablanca play next? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, in the game, rook takes knight. And after rook takes rook, killer fork ends the game. Knight takes pawn. Black resigns. White is going to get the exchange back after, let's say, I don't even know where the queen should go. It's really bad. Knight takes rook, queen takes, rook takes a6. 2 connected passers, and yeah, the queen's probably going to be picked up soon as well. It's reading a mate in 12. Anyhow, this is as far as it got in this one. Knight takes c6, killer fork to end, but what led to this? First, it was a poor decision early on. Good, giving up a good bishop for a bad bishop. Weakening then a dark square, creating a hole. White acquires some space and some well-timed pawn advances. Knowing when was a good time to release the tension paved the way for these little tactical shots at the very end. Anyhow, as usual, feel free to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.